Alright guys, we got a 2015 Yamaha R3. It's been sitting almost 2 years, somewhere around there. We have turned it on, drove it around the neighborhood a few times, but it really has not had probably more than 10 miles put on it in 2 years, which is sad to say with anything, but it's at least been in a garage, and it should turn on, turn over. Has, battery life in it. So it's not going to be a big job. What we're going to do today is an oil change on this, and just get some fresh oil, bring it back alive, and then hopefully put more regular miles on it and give it some joy in life. So let's get it out. Alright, so let's look at the oil. Okay, let's see. So as you can see, it's still pretty clear. You can tell that there hasn't been many miles put on that. I want to say it looked a little uglier not too long ago because it had been sitting so long, but I recently turned it on and let it run for a little bit. If you're working on something, you want to go by the owner's manual. So here you can see Yamaha-ownersmanuals.com. Well, it's kind of hard to see, but anyways, you can just look up Yamaha owner's manuals and then just select what you got here, which I already did. So it's a Yamaha 2015 R3, and here we are at the owner's manual. So first things first, I want to place the vehicle on a level surface, which we did, and we got it stood up straight, up and down on the stand. Start the engine, warm it up for several minutes, and then turn it off. So let's do that. Alright, while we let that warm up for several minutes before we turn it off, I'm going to go ahead and place an oil pan under the engine, which is step 3. And then the next thing we'll do is remove the engine oil filler cap. We're going to remove the drain bolts and let the oil drain. And then the next thing we're going to do after we get all that oil drained out, take the oil filter off. And then we're going to put a new oil filter on, which it says apply a thin coat of clean engine oil to the O-ring of the new oil filter. Make sure the O-ring is properly seated. Install the oil filter. So just your typical stuff you do on any oil change, but just so you guys know, we are following the owner's manual. Install the oil drain bolt when we're doing so. Let's get to it. Alright, so on the left side of the bike, you can see we got our drain bolt and a filter right there. So I'm going to slide this under that just so I have it where I need it, although I'm going to have to move that just briefly to loosen the bolt. Let's go ahead and get everything we need. Alright, it's been a few minutes. I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. Remove the oil fill cap. This is an important part on any oil change. You want to help allow the oil to drain. Alright guys, you're going to need, let's see, probably can't see it, but it's 1/2 inch socket or wrench. And then it doesn't take much to break your bolt loose. Once you break it loose, you're just going to want to get it out. Once you're unthreading it, it's kind of hard to see, you'll feel the end of the bolt where it'll kind of jiggle like that. I like to kind of hold the bolt up against the sump and then just jerk it out really fast so it'll allow the oil to come out without making a big mess. So I'm gonna let that drain out and I'll be right back. Alright, so we got the last little bit of oil draining out. Next thing will be taking off this oil filter. While that last little bit comes out, I just want to let you guys know this by far is my favorite pair of oil filter wrenches or sockets out of anything you can get. There's plenty of options, but this pair of vice grip oil filter vice grips is amazing. It's not going to do every job depending on how tight the spaces you're working in, but this thing is amazing. So let's get to it. So just some notes, guys. If you're not going by your owner's manual, no matter what, when you're doing an oil change, you always want to look at the filter that you're dealing with. This is the old filter, but I read the new filter. The instructions are the same on both of the filters as well as the owner's manual. Apply oil lightly to the gasket before installation, and then it gives you a tightening torque spec. And then it tells you to run the engine for 3 minutes and check for any oil leakage. As you guys can see, this goes on to the engine sideways, not straight up and down, and it doesn't give you any instructions or anything to tell you to pre-fill this oil filter with oil before installation. So this is not the bike or the filter that needs to be pre-filled with oil. It just needs some oil lightly to go around this O-ring. That's all you're going to need before installation on this oil filter. So let's get to it, putting the new one on. So this is my new oil filter. The instructions on this are the same as the old one that I just read. This one says, you know, to put oil around the seal, to lubricate it, make sure the O-ring is seated. The O-ring is seated all the way around, but this one looks like it almost has like Vaseline or something to lubricate it already. However, it's not going to hurt to make sure it has some more lubrication. So let's put some good oil on there, some fresh oil. Can't hurt. Alright, so we got a little bit on there. Just going to take our finger and lubricate it all the way around. And we can slap it on. Alright, so I got that started. Let me move this a little bit here. I like to get a towel to get it on. It's pretty loose right now, but you essentially just need it hand tight, plus maybe half a spin or a spin, not a significant amount more. So I got it almost there. It's a little slippery with the oil. I don't have the best grip, but we got it about hand tight. I'm gonna turn it maybe half a turn and I'll be right back. Alright, so we got the filter snugged up and put our drain bolt back on there. But don't forget, you need a sealing washer, which is already on there. So, and the torque specs on this are not very high, so we just want to get it hand tight here and then snug it up with our ratchet. Alright, so we moved through the steps here. Now we just need to add our oil. Recommended engine oil for this Yamaha R3, you're going to have to go to the recommended fluids in the owner's manual, which on this owner's manual is 8-1, on page 8-1. The oil quantity, since we are changing the oil filter as well as the oil, is going to be 2.22 US quarts. Okay. The oil we got is a 10W40, which meets the specs, minimum requirements that the owner's manual states. This is for wet clutches, guys. So we're going to go ahead and add the recommended oil amount. We got our oil in there. As you can see, some fresh new oil. Looks a little bit better. We want to start the engine and then let it idle for several minutes while checking for any oil leakage. So a big thing here, the biggest thing I would like y'all to know, I mean obviously oil leaking is obvious, but not what everyone knows is the after the engine starts, the oil pressure warning light should go off. Okay, turn it on and you'll see we got a oil pressure warning light, which is on because the engine's not on. Once you turn it on, it should turn off. If it does not turn off quickly, you know, then you want to turn the engine off quickly because there's an issue. So let's see if it turns off for us. Alright, it went off. Idle for a little bit. An important thing, because this bike doesn't have a dipstick, it has a sight glass. To check the engine oil level, place the vehicle on a level surface and hold it upright. A slight tilt to the side can result in a false reading. Start the engine, warm it up for several minutes and turn it off. Wait a few minutes until the oil settles and then check the oil level through the engine oil level check window located at the bottom right side of the crankcase. I like to call that a sight glass. I did have it running for a little while, not too long. It is on a level surface here. So let's look and see. So if kind of upright, you see that the oil is way down there. If I move it over towards me a little bit, I can see what it sounded like would be a false reading. So I'm gonna put a little bit more oil in here until it is level across with that sight glass, and we'll be good to go. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully I was able to help you in some sort of way. If there's anything else you'd like to see, just let me know. Thanks.